with another live stream, and I made a lot of friends a decade ago playing Dragon's Dogma 1, and Dragon's Dogma 2 is coming out March 22nd, and one of my friends that I met from the first game told me that there's a character creator and storage app that was created so players that played the game before can make their Arisons and their pawns preemptively. And this also could be used as a marketing tool for people that have never played Dragon's Dogma to just see how robust the character creation tool is and what kind of different characters you could come up with to maybe have people that have never played the franchise before jump into it. We're doing a little cutscene right now.
At last! The bell has tolled on the age of the console. The return of the Sovereign.
Ooh, political intrigue.
Welcome, Arisen. We pawns have long awaited your arrival.
Learn all you can of this world you must protect.
They have catfolk.
We ask that all be
You can make a
spared the
catfolk.
horrors of the fell dragon.
From this moment forth, thou art arisen. Charge and do.
Mystic Archer. I'm probably gonna play that. Like that was my favorite class in the first one.
What is your purpose here?
When 'twas all but certain that her son would take his father's place, word reached the castle that the Arisen had been found.
Pitiable arisen. Why dost thou fight?
Arisen.
You need only believe in your own destiny, Arisen.
Show me the path thou wouldst walk.
Yeah.
If ye intend to do what I could not, and fell the dragon,
Yeah, they better bring back the Your Dragon.
I would gladly pass all the wisdom I
No,
possess.
it was You Are. No, it doesn't. So, I'm gonna include your audio now because your audio wasn't part of the stream before, because I wanted to see that little trailer. More options, party audio. So I started working on recreating my pawn Thaddeus from the first game. Thaddeus was in the top 100 pawns during the original game's release, and he also was entered in a Capcom's pawn pageant competition, where it was a global competition, and he won North American Male Pawn, and Capcom sent me swag because of it. I got a Dragon's Dogma tote bag and thermos. If I would have won Male Pawn like globally, I would have also got a free copy of the Dark Arisen version of the game, as well as a sling bag backpack. But here's Thaddeus so far. So you can pick a basic body and and race. You can either be a humanoid, or you can be a catfolk, or whatever they call it in Dragon's Dogma 2. Night Stalker, you're saying they were calling it Beastren? There's 3 realms, so there's a realm of humans, there's a realm of elves, and there's a realm of Beastren. So, but it sounds like the realm of Beastren is like not just one type of like
Elves and
creature. It sounds like there's a bunch of
You have a
different
happy trail.
kinds. It's like a melting pot. So I picked human because Thaddeus is human. He's gonna start off as a vocation, and I picked his inclination as calm. And calm says a rational, shrewd, and strategizing. A pawn characterized by caution favors defense and evasion, employing clever tactics to survive at all costs. So I feel like that's a good starting inclination because the world is perilous, and I like the idea of strategy. Thaddeus got rented a lot in the first game, Night Stalker, by a lot of people. One of the things that Rifter told me a lot, and actually sort of Corey, was that Thaddeus was smart in combat. Like, he said a lot of times they said a lot of times they would hire other pawns that were like similar like classes to Thaddeus, and they would just charge into battle, get themselves fucking KO'd, and then fucking spawned back to the fucking rift because they got killed. Whereas Thaddeus was more of a tactician, and he was aggressive, but he was smarter in the way he attacked his opponents. And he also a lot of times was saving other pawns from dying. And Rifter talked about how he saved his ass a bunch of times. So I feel like having a pawn that focuses on tactics in combat, I think is a good starting point for him. So they have a lot of voices. They break up each like each inclination by 2 categories, and the top category is female and the bottom category is male. So this is the voice option that I picked for Thaddeus. I'll just zoom in on his face a little bit so you can see his face a little bit more.
Basically, you have humans, elves, and
The
others.
people here are evacuated and safe. There are more who can yet be saved. It seems the rain has abated. Former Arisen appear to be plentiful in this world. Danger might lurk anywhere. Wear every shadow and mind the ceiling.
So I had to just recently adjust his brow because his brow was sticking out from his hair. On the original version of Thaddeus, he had a scar on the opposite side of his face, but they didn't have that as an option. That's the one thing that I wish they had more of. So they have tattoos. They have a lot of tattoo options, and you can actually tattoo like different parts of the body, your chest, or your arms, or your legs, or your face. And they have scars, but I wish they had a wider range of scar options to be able to scar your face differently.
Or your left breast.
So let's go to detailed customization. So one of the things I really like about this tool, Light Stalker, is when you customize something, right? I'm gonna go to my head, right? See how I just did that little thing where it was like a bright burst of teal? Whatever you're gonna adjust, it shows quickly like where you're gonna adjust it. So let's go to head. No. Let's go to brow. So I just adjusted my brow, for example, recently. So when you go through each setting, it defines the area you're about to adjust, which I think is really cool. So I just recently, right before the stream, pushed his brow in just a little bit, his brow depth inner, because it was sticking out too much because of his hair. So I'm going to put his hair back on. It was clipping. His hair was clipping. It doesn't look like it's clipping anymore. So you have root colors as well as tip colors. You can adjust that. You can adjust the sheen and how like shiny it is, like where the sheen is on the hair. You can also adjust like skin dryness and all that crap. It's really cool. I'm gonna save him, and what I'll do is I'll start with an Arisen from scratch, so that way you can main pawn continue editing this character. No. Unfinalized character will be lost. No. No.
Yeah, you ain't real.
All right. Okay. Following character is not finalized. Main point. Continue editing this. I guess I gotta finalize Thaddeus. So you can pick a base vocation to start off with. They have fighter, archer, mage, and thief. I was gonna go with fighter because I wanted to focus on his strength. To start off with, strength and health, and I feel like that fighter is a good place to start. And then I'll probably migrate him to archer, or thief next for a bit once we start playing the game. But yeah, like look how good the fucking outfits look. Really like high level textures. So I guess for me to work on my Arisen, I gotta finalize him. So he's pretty good where he's at. I spent Night Stalker about 3 hours working on him this morning. So, I don't like hitting this finalize button. I really don't like hitting it. But I'm gonna do it. Alright, finalize. Name. Thaddeus.
Yes.
And then, so monikers, you remember this, Night Stalker? They did this before? So, if players have their, have like child filters on, like parental filters on their console, and they don't allow custom names to be displayed, they won't be able to see Thaddeus as a name. So, you gotta pick a moniker that's close to the name that you actually made, that they've essentially guaranteed won't be offensive to anybody.
It's basically verified. You verified.
So Thad was what I used before because it's short for Thaddeus.
Gladly.
Finalize character and proceed. Yes. This character's data is currently sent to carry over to Dragon's Dogma 2. Yes. When you create a character in Dragon's Dogma 2, you will be given the option to use existing data, allow you to import the appearance of a character you created in the demo version, purchase full version, yada yada yada. I pre-ordered it early this morning after I started working on Thaddeus, and I got the deluxe edition, and I installed all the files already. All right, so create a new character. So we're gonna pick an Arisen, and that's right. You can create 5 of each one, Night Stalker. I don't know why. Like you can create 5 Arisen and 5 pawns. I have no idea why. Maybe just to give people the opportunity to
switch the pawns around.
Well, not so much switch the pawns around, but like
you take one in your trip
make
with you.
different characters, and then maybe when you go to play the game, maybe
you attach a pawn to that character. I don't know.
No, maybe you can have multiple saves.
Look it up. Why?
I personally don't want to partake in that. I don't want to put effort into multiple characters.
Me neither.
I would never want to do that.
That's like a jack of all trades and master of none. You know.
Alright, so it says create the Arisen. You can create either...
Just focus on one character.
Wait, you can either select a preset or choose to customize your own character from a blank slate. So I always go create new. This is what I did with Thaddeus yesterday. So this will show you like how it starts from the beginning, because I already did all this with Thaddeus yesterday. So see, you can be a male or female human, but you can also make like an elf out of them too. Or you can be
a cat folk. Can be. Those are called Khajiit in Skyrim.
Yeah, I know. So they have a bunch of different base bodies that you can start off with.
Heard you have a base body.
I made my Arisen, like, not too... Like, this dude's massive. Like, I think I made him kind of like middle of the road, kind of like here.
Dad bod? Dad bod.
No, he doesn't have a dad bod.
A little heavy, a little bit of a tummy.
No, he doesn't.
I'm saying that's what a dad bod is. A little bit of a tummy.
Yeah. Alright, confirm. So, what they do is they have preset characters that the devs made. And one of the things I was telling Jill about that's really cool is that, this game actually has asymmetry in faces, which a lot of games don't do that. So Thaddeus, when I was making him yesterday, this was the base I started off with. So Thaddeus looks nothing like this guy, but this guy had like key attributes that I wanted Thaddeus to have. He had a very square jaw, was one of the big ones. He had kind of a pointed nose, which I wanted, and somewhat decent sized forehead. So this is the base that I started with to make Thaddeus. So my Arisen, I always made him kind of looking like I had dirty blonde hair and blue eyes, so I went for that look with my Arisen. I didn't really make him look like me, so to speak, but I kind of just picked up those attributes, and I kind of gave him like a Viking-esque kind of look. So like let's try to see what options we have might be a good base for that. I think this dude might work. They did a really good job with different ethnicities. That guy's head does not look like it belongs on that body. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with this dude as a starting point. Alright. So then when you pick your base head, then that brings up this 9 tile slot, and you can go... he looks like Jesus. You can then go and... See that scar? How come that scar wasn't available when I was making Thaddeus? Maybe different base characters have different scar options. He looks like, yeah, it's kind of like elvish looking, huh? He looks like a fucking elf. I'll do this version. Oh, maybe not. Actually, I might just keep the base one, because the way the features are changing on the other ones, I'm not super happy about. So I'm just gonna keep the base guy. And then they narrow it down a little bit more. Alright, so once you got that done, now you can actually start going into more detailed customizing. So let's start off with, we'll focus on the head. So skin. So there's a bunch of skin options. There's 40 total. And they offer different characteristics and different like ethnicities as well as weathering and aging. But then you can go adjust those later. Alright, and then you have these other values you can work within once you've created a base texture. Give yourself jaundice. My character's an alcoholic! If he's gonna have like a Viking-esque kind of look, and once we wipe out, he'd probably have a little bit of color because of being out in the sun. So I'm gonna go with 23. You can adjust wrinkles, and there's a little line when you adjust your settings. And as you, modify your character, these lines, these vertical lines on all your attributes shift over time as you adjust your character, and essentially it puts like a bell curve value to the norm within the range of tolerance of whatever you're modifying. Like, I put his wrinkles all the way up, and he has like none. What the fuck? That's weird. Alright, skin sheen. So you can make them look like they're sweaty son of a bitches. It's like, oh god, I'm gonna poop myself. And you can make them look really dry. So I'm gonna give them a little bit more sheen than default. Alright, so brow. I want to go brow depth overall. I want to increase this.
Hey, do a little dance. Do a dance.
So are you gonna make a person, or are you gonna make a catfolk? Nice soccer.
Person. Identify as, I already told you in chat. I told TGCI chat. I'm a human, but I identify as Hobbit.
Yeah, no, I saw that. Are you gonna make a little guy?
My pronouns are sweetie and pumpkin. Instead of like he, she, sir, ma'am. Mine are sweetie and pumpkin. That's how you gotta address me. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sweetie. Or yes, sweetie. Yes, pumpkin. Those are my pronouns. Are those called pronouns? I don't know.
No.
Well, what would it be called? Like were you like some people like they? Some like, what are those called?
Those are pronouns.
But I mean, but when you're using it in reference to like addressing a person. You understand what I'm saying?
I don't know. That's a nickname.
No. Okay, like for example, the other day we were talking with Jill, and she goes, "I prefer to be referred to as they." Okay, when they're doing that, okay, what's that considered? A pronoun, or or like he, she?
That's pronouns. Those are pronouns. So pronouns are
where you refer to somebody in a sentence, right? He went there. She went there.
Yeah, but it's what you're talking about are like the other thing you were talking about were like nicknames. It wasn't pronouns.
It's not a nickname. It's used in the LGBTQ.
Calling someone sweetie is a nickname for someone.
Well, no, that I know. I was joking with that part. But I was saying, I was using that as instead of my pronoun of he, you always have to refer to me in that sentence. Instead of saying he went to the store, you gotta say sweetie went to the store. See, that's what I was getting at.
Yeah, but that's not a pronoun.
I know it was me being a silly little goose, but whatever, you ruined it. Never mind. You ruined it. There he is. Speaking of sweetie. Just kidding.
And it's easier to just talk to you in a party than send messages back because I'm live streaming making my Arisen. So So it's a single player game, right? That has a narrative to it, and there's consequences based on morality and choice, like other single player games. But it's got a multiplayer aspect to it, like I was saying in the messages. So what happens is you make your character is known as the Arisen, and essentially you're a person that's chosen by this dragon, and he essentially like rips your heart out of you and has control of your heart, and you're bound to the dragon because of that. And this game is an Eastern game. You know, it's developed by Capcom, and they did a good job bringing different cultures into it. Like they have like Tolkien-esque kind of stuff
I'll be back, you
with
guys.
like elves and that kind of stuff. But they also have like Greek mythology in there. They have like Nordic mythology. They have Asian mythology, and it's kind of all wrapped up together. So there's yeah, dude, it's cool. Like there's cyclopses, there's fucking griffins, there's harpies, there's dragons, there's fucking chimera, there's all different kinds of things. And one of the reasons why I really like this game a lot was because the combat in it is so good. Like, it reminds me a lot of Ninja Gaiden. Like, it's fast-paced, and it's not just a button smasher. Like, you have to learn combos based on the weapons you're using. And it's just, like, super immersive. Like, you can climb, like, dude, like, a Cyclops can come after you, and the thing is massive, right? And you can run up to it and grapple it, dude, and fucking climb it and attack it while you're climbing it. Like, a griffin could swoop in, and you could grab onto the griffin as it goes to take off, and you could try to slay it while it's flying through the air. Now, if that happens, you're probably going to die, because it's going to fly so high in the air that your stamina is eventually going to run out, and you're going to let go. But there's spells, and there's, like, rings that, like, would prevent you from dying if you had one that, like, makes you, like, slow fall, for example. Or if you're, like, some kind of sorcerer type class, you can use, like, a spell that makes you, like, hover, you know. And I'm not super into games with magic. I never really have been, even when I was... Yeah, I tend to play more like archer, melee type people. Anyway, so this game has, you play as your Arisen, and the story revolves around you as the Arisen, but what happens is there's these sidekicks, like I was saying, they're called pawns, and every single person that plays the game makes a pawn, right? So you'd make a pawn, Jill would make a pawn, Night Stalker would make a pawn, I'd make a pawn, right? And when you first start playing the game, you're by yourself, you're not going to have a pawn, and then you're going to get to a certain point, but it's really early on in the narration and the storyline where they're going to say, here, we're introducing you to pawns. Pawns are faithful servants to help the Arisen on their journey to defeat the dragon. Because your goal is to defeat the dragon. The dragon is essentially like pure evil, and he's trying to like essentially destroy the world kind of thing, or at least a part of the world. And essentially, the dragon, every time, it's like a cyclical thing. They got a very yin yang kind of like philosophy to it, because it's an Eastern philosophy game, right? And so the idea is it's like a never-ending loop, right? So essentially, a dragon comes to be, chooses an Arisen. That person is the Arisen, and their job is to slay the dragon. And then when the dragon's slayed and the Arisen's victorious, everything's victorious, and then it happens again. But it also could be the opposite way. The Arisen's not victorious, the dragon's victorious, but either way, it's like cyclical. The idea is it's a never-ending, reoccurring loop over time that this happens. And so, like, throughout the story, at least in the first one, you actually come across other Arisen that have failed. Like, they get tempted by the dragon and its power and fail to do their duty, you know, and chaos and evil takes over because the Arisen fails in his mission to slay the dragon. So ultimately, that's what your goal is to fucking slay this great giant worm red dragon. But yeah, so the pawns, like I said before, so the pawns, they get rented out. So like, what happens is when you're playing, right, you go up to this like stone. There's all these stones around the map that have these runes on them, and you touch them and it glows and it looks really cool. Then you go into this other plane of existence, and the pawns come from this other plane. And when you go to get other pawns, you can hire pawns that the game developers like randomly created with like a random pawn generator if you play offline. But if you play online, which most people do, what happens is, and again, this is a setting you can change. You can say, I want my pawn to be shared, or you don't want it to be shared. Like, you can make it so no one can hire your pawn, but you can make it so people can hire your pawn. So let's say I wanted to find, I don't know, a ranger that was really good at archery, and I wanted like certain attributes, like I want them to have certain abilities and whatnot. You could tick off like what you want them to be, and then you refresh it, and then what happens is you're in this like rift, and all the pawns that are available around the world that fit within your search criteria like appear before you, and you can walk up to them and you can kind of like see their stats, see who the Xbox player is that owns that pawn, see what level they are, how far they've gone in the game, you know, what missions they've done and everything like that. And then you hire them, and you use these things called rift crystals to hire pawns. And then when you hire somebody else's pawn, so let's say you hired my pawn, right, and you did a side quest where you, I don't know, had to fight a drake that I've never fought as a player, right? If Thaddeus fights that drake with you, and he learns a way to fight that drake, either a tactic or a weapon to use, when he comes back to me, he actually increases knowledge based on the adventures he goes on with other people. And let's say I'm going to fight this drake and it has a weakness, but I don't know what that weakness is because I've never fought it. He will actually tell me in game, oh, to slay this drake, do this. Like, they'll actually give the player advice if they have had experience fighting a foe that you've never fought before. Yeah, it's wicked cool. It's wicked cool. So they gain experience, level, knowledge. They learn about the quest. They learn about the map, what you can do, what you can't do. And over time, the pawns become more and more powerful and more useful to other people. And the original version of this game was how I became friends with Night Stalker, how I became friends with Corey, how I became friends with Taylor, how I became friends with Rifter. And then, yeah, dude, like, because what happened was, like, Night Stalker was a perfect example. He said he went to go look for a pawn that, you know, did a certain thing, found my pawn, and he went to go rent them, because when you rent pawns, and the person's not your friend on your friends list, you gotta pay rift crystals. You gotta rent them. And if they're higher level than you, they exponentially go up in value, right? Like, let's say you're level 10 and you wanted to hire my character and I'm level 100. It might cost you 50,000 rift crystals to hire my character, right? But if you, well, I don't know if they're gonna do it with the new game, but in the original game, if you sent them a friend request, all your friends' pawns were free. It didn't cost you any rift crystals to rent them. So that's why Night Stalker friended me, was because he wanted to rent Thaddeus. And he didn't have the rift crystals to rent him. So he's like, can I be your friend? Yeah, he left. So yeah, so like a bunch of us are going to be playing this one. It's not out yet, but Corey messaged me wicked early this morning, like 2 a.m., 3 a.m., saying that they released a tool, so it's a character creator tool, which is what I'm in right now, to you can create up to 5 Arisen and up to 5 pawns, and then when the full game comes out, you'll be able to take the characters that you made here and bring them into the game. So I think it's a really good feature, because like for people like me and like Corey and Night Stalker Rifter and Jill, we've all played the game already, and we kind of know what it's about. It's a good way for us to make our characters before the game comes out, and then when the game launches, we can just jump into playing it without having to worry about without having to waste time making a character because it's already done. And then for someone like you that's never played it before, I think it's a good way to show you how good the graphics are going to be in the game and what options. What's that? Yeah, it looks wicked good, huh? Are you watching my stream or no? Oh, the trailer I sent you? Yeah. Are you playing with good enough or no? Oh yeah, he said he had to go. He had to travel for his son. For Wyatt had a wrestling competition. You know what you should do? You know what you should do? You should make Lamal from the soundtrack to Never Ending Story. Make him your character. And then run around going, too shy, shy. Hush, hush, eye to eye. Yeah. No. I was listening to that the other day, actually. Nostril. For the what? I didn't even know there was a second one. Really? Yeah. I didn't know there were other ones. I really didn't. I had no idea. Now that I'm working on my Arisen, I'm like trying to actually kind of mirror my physicality. Because like you didn't have nearly as much customization on the original game as you do this one. Yeah, so think of it, it's a character creator, right? So you make the Arisen, which is the character you play as, and then you can make your pawn, and you can make up to 5. Now I don't know if that means they're gonna have multiple character slots and like different saves, which it sounds like they might if they're offering you the opportunity to make 5 different of each, which is crazy. Like me and Nightstar were talking about the fact that like I'm never gonna make more than one character. Like I think it's dumb to invest time, especially in a game like this, to make more than one character, because like so what happens is so like a lot of story, like a lot of single player narrative games, right? Like you have the main quest, right? The main story arc, right? And then there's always side quests, right? And then so you have all the side quests, and in the original Dragon's Dogma there was a shit ton of fucking side quests, right? And who the fuck wants to do that shit over and over and over and over and over and over again? Especially, yeah, fuck that. Especially in a game that has so much content, it's crazy. And then on top of there's morality to it too, right? So like as you do things, if you do like in the first game, right, there was a family, right, and they're in like the capital called Grancis, and if you there's this like aristocrat. He's like this rich noble fuck, right? And if you help him, he evicts that family. That family ends up homeless because of you, right? And then if that happens, then you can either choose to help that family once they're homeless, or you can choose not to help them. Do you know what I'm saying? So there's like consequences for your actions, right? And so like depending on how you treat NPCs and do different things, it might cause different side quests to open up or different side quests to close, or the world to think of you differently, you know? And yeah, kind of like Fable, yep. And then this game had a really good in-depth new game plus. So like, and I never, outside of this game, I've never done a new game plus on any game. This is the only game that I ever did it on. The first one I did new game plus, right? And so what happens is when you went to new game plus, they essentially increased the difficulty of the whole world. You carried over all your levels and your gear from the original game to the new game, but there was this limbo mode that I actually spent a lot of time in, where after you beat the game, this whole like underground labyrinth of stuff opened up that you could access, and some of the best gear in the game was found there. And what happened was, it was this big deep tunnel, and you would jump into it, right? And you would just be free falling like in Bill and Ted. And you're like, ah! I don't know if you include your audio or not. And it was like, man, this is a really deep hole, man. He goes, want to play 20 questions? Sure. He goes, okay. He goes, mineral. He goes, okay. Are you a tank? Totally. Yeah. It gets so forward falling. So it's just like that, where you're just free falling, and what happens is there's like an infinite free falling loop. But as you're free falling, you see these platforms and like torches lit up, because it's kind of like a tunnel you're falling down, right? And if you navigate your thumbsticks while you're free falling, you can try to grab a ledge. And then what you do is you would grab a ledge, right? And then you would stand up on that ledge, and then there would be a doorway. And then you'd go into that doorway, and that particular doorway had a specific arena, so to speak, with certain foes and enemies and traps and treasures that you could potentially unlock by defeating those foes. And the thing was, there was different drop rates for different loot. Like the really good, powerful stuff had like really low drop rates, like 2%, 1%, shit like that. And so once you beat the game and you had that access to open that up, I spent fucking days, dude, just fucking killing dragons and all kinds of crazy creatures to fucking, to get the really rare loot. And then if you got the rare loot, so what happens is, like, you equip your main character that you play as, but you also equip your pawn. So as you level up, your pawn levels up too. And they have, instead of them calling them classes in the game, they call it vocations. So like, yeah, pawn will level up if other people use it. Your pawn will level up when you're playing. And what happens is, like, when you first make your characters, you pick from 4 base classes. Right, there's like a fighter class, which is kind of like a knight. There's an archer, there's a mage, and there's a thief. So both you and your pawn pick one of those 4 main classes to start off with, and then you level those up, and you have to get like points in your class to unlock different abilities and attacks and special attacks and shit like that. And then you can assign like perks and stuff, and then over time you can actually switch vocations. So like a mage could become a wizard, right? And if you become a wizard, like, the mages were more focused on healing and doing a little bit of offensive magic, but it was more about healing and helping your team. But when you became a wizard, it was more offensive, and you could do things like call down meteorites or fucking make a tornado, right, and shit like that. And so No, you don't change on the fly. What happens is essentially you level up a vocation, and then you decide, okay, I want to go from this vocation to this advanced vocation, and then you pick that, and then you switch to that vocation. But you can, in theory, play all the vocations eventually if you wanted to. And the thing is, each vocation has different like perks you can assign to your character, and eventually you can have, I think, like 10 perks. And you can actually combine perks from different vocations on you to really make like a crazy build. You know, you could have like things that are based on magic, things that help you with strength, and like combine it all to make your pawns and your Arisens like really like, yeah, it's really cool. And then one of the other things that they had in the original game, which I hope they bring it back to this game, this is actually how I met Taylor. You don't really know Taylor too well. He was in our GTA crew, but I met him because of this. So they had this online community boss. It was like one of the first times I've ever heard of anything like this. So what happens is when you beat the game and you were in that like limbo zone between the original game and New Game Plus, that thing that you fell down I was telling you about, there was a certain ledge. If you grab that certain ledge and you go into this zone, there's this undead dragon. It's like a zombie dragon, right? And it's massive. It's fucking huge, right? And you would fight this dragon and try to kill it, right? Now, there was two versions of the dragon. There was an offline version and an online version. Now, the offline version was still hard, and you could get really cool, rare loot. And the only way you could get this loot was to fight this particular dragon. But if you played the online version, what happened was they had generations, generation 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. And the entire world, it was a community boss fight. Like the entire world, everybody on Xbox would fight against this dragon, right? You would, I would, everybody would. And every time you, a player would go in there and fight it, you would fight it for a certain amount of time, then he'd fly off. And whatever damage you did to him would accumulate with the damage that other real players did to him, and then eventually he would be in this zone where he was all lit up with these like hearts around his body, and you would try to kill him when he was in the point where he could be killed. And if you killed him, if you were one of the people that actually helped kill him, then you unlocked the best loot in the game. Like there was no other loot better than the loot that you could get from killing him. And it was really fucking cool. And they had like a leaderboard, and every time he was defeated, it would show like the top like 10 players that helped defeat him. And then every time he died and came back to life, they would call it a generation. So like generation 1, 2, 3. And every single time he came back, he got harder. He got harder to fight, dude. I remember, I beat him a shit ton of times. I beat him close to 30 times. And it was insane. Like, and there was two, like, I joined Facebook groups. There was Facebook groups. One was for Xbox, one was for PlayStation, and it kept track of like what generation the dragon was, and they would put a if you added pin notifications to that Facebook group, they would tell you the dragon can be killed, jump on now, the dragon can be killed, dude. And I liked doing that, but it sucked because I could be in bed, it could be 3 a.m. and I'd get a notification that your dragons can be killed, and I'd get out of bed at like 3 a.m. to fight this fucking dragon and try to kill it. Because you have no control over when it's going to happen. It just happens when so much XP damage had been done to him, and that's it. And if you're not there to help kill him, then you don't get the rewards, like the same rewards. Like if you helped fight him, you'd get rewards, but it was never as good as the loot that would drop if you helped actually slay him. And then they had like a big expansion where like death was part of it. Like you had to actually fight death. Oh my god, he was so creepy. He was massive and he had a huge scythe. And if he swung his scythe at you, you instantly got killed. If he hit you. They had minotaurs and yeah, all kinds of stuff. Yeah, it's wicked cool. Like I said, I'm not super into magic games or like fantasy, so to speak, but this game, for whatever reason, it actually was something that I liked. What, Daisy? What? Go eat your num-nums. Alright. Alright, bruh. What? What'd you say? Alright, I'll let you go, sir. I'm trying to... No, stop, Daisy. I might have to take Daisy in the backyard because she's harassing me. So I spent more time talking about the game than customizing a character. But I'm gonna save my Arisen where he's at for right now, that way I don't lose my progress. And I'll probably stream when I come back, so I can finish building him. Yeah, well, I created my main pawn already, Thaddeus, and I would like to try to get him on the top leaderboard on this version of the game, because he was in the top 100 most used pawns in the world on the first game, dude. And he won an official contest through Capcom. He was the North American male pawn. Like, he was the best pawn in all of America. Which was... Alright, later. Alright, so we're gonna end the stream. I was just giving one of my buddies Skinless, I don't know if his audio was included or not, kind of like a high level of what the franchise was about and how the game worked. So it kind of detracted from me working on making my character. But
At last,
we're gonna go back into making my Arisen in a stream probably later today or maybe tomorrow. So thanks for watching, and until next time, peace.
The return of the Sabra.